Hello, welcome to this Zoom webinar forum with the candidates vying for Bainbridge Island City Council districts in Districts 3, 5, and 7, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Kitsap. I am Riley Abel, and I will be moderating this forum. The League of Women Voters is proud to be a nonpartisan organization, neither supporting nor opposing candidates and political parties. The League of Women Voters of Kitsap envisions a democracy where every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. So let's get started with our forum. These questions have been submitted to the League by voters through our website, and we've consolidated those, plus others the public has contributed, into the questions that I will be asking our candidates. The questions will cover a range of topics and issues pertinent to the city of Bainbridge Island. This year, there are 6 candidates running for election in this council race. The candidates are, for District 3, Mike Nelson and Sarah Blossom; for District 5, Clarence Moriwaki and Peter Raffa; for District 7, Joe Deets and Lara Lant. Unfortunately, Mike Nelson was unable to attend tonight's forum, but he did provide us with a statement, which I will read now. Please accept my apologies for having to miss this candidate forum. From the start, my campaign has stood against massive growth. Instead, I support reasonable growth and responsible growth planning. I am particularly concerned about the push by the City Council and the Planning Commission to massively upzone our historic downtown Winslow. I believe such a move would destroy the special character of the island, stain our natural resources, most notably our water supply, strain our infrastructure, increase congestion on our roads, and raise taxes on islanders, all without meaningfully addressing housing affordability. For more information, please visit my website at www.votemikeNelson.com. And if you have any specific questions, please email me directly at mike@votemikeNelson.com. Thank you. And thank you to all the candidates for offering your skills and talents in service to this city. You deserve our respects and each other's, so please remember that this is a forum rather than a debate. We ask you to respond specifically to the provided questions and remain civil to each other. So the candidates have been informed of tonight's format, but I'd like to repeat it for the viewers. Each candidate will be given 90 seconds to make an opening statement. After all candidates have spoken, I will move on to our questions. We will start in the order the name appears on the ballot, and then rotate who goes first on each subsequent question. Each of you will have 60 seconds to respond to those questions. If you have answered a question and have time remaining, you may speak about a previous question or clarify a statement. Then, at the conclusion of our questions, each candidate will have 60 seconds to make a closing statement. Our timekeeper will maintain the electronic clock, which you should be able to see on your screen to keep you aware of your time for each answer. If you run out of time, you may finish your sentence. But I will interrupt you and move on to the next candidate if your answer continues beyond just finishing the sentence. And please refrain from cross-talking and address your answers to the community rather than to each other. So let's start with our opening statements. You will each have 90 seconds to respond, and we'll begin with the candidates for District 3, starting with Sarah Blossom.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Blossom, and I am running for the South Ward City Council seat. I've previously served 2 terms on the City Council and am currently in my 5th year as a planning commissioner. I was born on the island and have lived here my entire life. I feel strongly about maintaining our character as represented through our built environment, our forests, our farmland, and our community. I want to preserve our environment and connection to nature. I also believe that we need to plan responsibly for growth through good process, due diligence, and accurate data. Since leaving the council, I have continued to follow city council developments closely, and what I have observed in those meetings, and maybe more importantly, what I haven't observed, has motivated me to re-engage. The city council is a representative body elected by the people to reflect the community's values, set policy direction, and make decisions on behalf of Bainbridge Island residents. The city manager is responsible for administration. What I've observed is that the distinction between governance and administration has become increasingly blurred, and it is essential that the city council, not staff, leads on policy. Process is also a policy choice, and it's the council's responsibility to get it right. Over the past several years, council's role in shaping process has diminished, and as a result, we've seen unacceptable outcomes. I will work to restore council's leadership over process to ensure better results for our community.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And we will move on to our District 5 candidates, starting with Clarence Moriwaki.
Thank you, Riley. I'm Clarence Moriwaki, and I'm honored to serve on your city council. In addition, I serve as a commissioner for Kitsap Transit and the Kitsap Housing Authority, and I'm a board member of Kitsap 911. On council, I'm also the liaison to the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center Board and the Public Arts Committee. All of these roles have one significant thing in common. They strengthen our community, whether it's public safety, transportation, housing, honoring history, supporting our seniors, or celebrating the arts. I believe in service that brings us all together. I also try to lead with common sense, integrity, and fiscal responsibility. It's been a wonderful privilege to serve our community over these 30 years and these last 4 years as your city council member, and I'd be honored to serve a second term.
Thank you, Clarence. Next, Peter, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Raffa, and I am running for City Council, Central Ward, District 5. Bainbridge Island residence for 32 years. I'm not a career politician. This is my first foray into this wonderful experience. I am all about being transparent, accountable, reliable, for the public good. Values, I believe, are a must in every public decision. I bring a fresh perspective, steady leadership, deep commitment to process, taking pride in listening to residents, learning from their vast experience and bringing people together, even if we disagree. I also am a nonprofit professional for 40 years in fundraising. And I would value and I humbly would ask for your vote. Thank you very much and have a great evening.
Thank you, Peter. And then for our District 7 candidates, starting with Joe Deets.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you, League of Women's Voters, for hosting this forum. I'm thrilled to be here and thrilled to run for re-election. You know, I could talk about a lot of things: water, bicycle paths, tribal relations. But what I want to highlight here are my priorities: climate change, affordable housing, and my accessibility to constituents. Climate is changing, and it is the city's responsibility to deliver solutions for the community to adapt. I have championed since its onset the city's climate action plan. I serve as liaison to the Climate Change Advisory Committee, and I've approved funding for full-time climate and sustainability manager. We continue to work on increasing the island's clean energy production, reducing reliance on single occupancy vehicles, addressing sea level rise, mitigating wildfire risk, and changing precipitation trends. None of these efforts are assured of success. They require a council member with a political will to make that happen. I have that political will in spades. When it comes to affordable housing, I do not focus exclusively on the drawbacks of every suggested site. I take action, improving permitting for ADUs, supporting Eagle Harbor Livermore tenants, providing millions of dollars to Housing Resources Bainbridge, voting to pass the CHIP grant ordinance, supporting the 65 Winslow Way project, and when many voters opposed it, looking for and finding viable alternatives. I am the only council member to hold regular office hours. I deeply appreciate these opportunities to learn from constituents. I sit down, look at people in the eyes, and find out what is important to them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Lara, you have 90 seconds.
Hi, thank you, Riley. Thank you, League of Women Voters. Good evening. I am Lara Lant, and I'm running for City Council North Ward. I grew up here on Bainbridge Island. I raised my kids here, and I worked for the city for more than 14 years. That experience gave me an insider's view on how the city operates and how much better decisions are when the public is engaged early and often. I'm running because I believe in accountability, transparency, and predictable city services. If elected, I want to focus on smaller, well-designed housing, infrastructure, and transportation projects. Projects that fit within existing neighborhoods, projects that are practical and right-sized. I also recognize we have to manage our water supply in a sustainable way. Bainbridge is a sole source aquifer, and while we have water now, we need to plan and budget wisely to make sure our children and grandchildren have the water resources they need to live on the island. This is also the time to strengthen social services, food, housing, childcare, and emergency preparedness, especially as federal support becomes less certain. And finally, I'll work to build stronger partnerships with neighboring agencies who are facing the same challenges with housing, water, and infrastructure, so our local solutions add up to real regional resilience. I'm practical. I don't believe in extremes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So for our question portion, we are now going to start with Clarence for this. If at any point any candidate would like the question repeated, please feel free to ask. So this first question is, if elected, how will you work within specifically the state's priorities and the unique needs of Bainbridge Island with respect to growth and transportation?
Great question. One of the real reasons we have the City Council is to follow the state law and the Growth Management Act and other policies. We must follow through with rigor and honesty. But we also have to keep our eye on what makes our island special and keep the character and the environment that we all love and enjoy part of that plan. I think we can plan and do sustainable Bainbridge or sustainable development, but also manage growth and keep our environment and find that perfect balance. I also believe that with the state, we have a tough situation that we've seen throughout the country. The funding sources are unreliable and, quite frankly, concerning to me as a city council member. So we have to make sure we make our fiscal house solid here at Bainbridge Island. So if those opportunities that we might have for those kind of grants don't come through, we are able to follow through and fulfill those promises that we have budgeted for.
Thank you, Clarence. Peter, the same question to you.
Thank you. Well, as far as the state law is concerned, I think the state law was blanketed around cities around the state of Washington, not considering the fact that Bainbridge is an island, as mentioned before, single source water aquifer surrounded by salt water. I think that the law is not supportive of the financial mandate that is required for cities. Our sewer system is in need of infrastructure and update. I don't think the state is going to pay for that. Don't think the state is going to pump in water when we need water. I think that Bainbridge Island is a unique place because we are an island and because we have a single source aquifer. And I think that the laws can be challenged. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe, the same question to you.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Well, the city, like all cities, must have complied with the Growth Management Act. And there was a new provision, House Bill 1220, that was passed, was in 2021, that included for specifically relating to affordable housing, which has frankly made it challenging. And this is a bill that frankly I did not approve, but it was passed, and frankly was passed with all the Kitsap delegation. So it is a law that we must adhere to, but I think we can. And by focusing in Winslow, the district in Winslow, and being very deliberate in where that growth will go. We're working with the Planning Commission, the highly respected group of islanders, and we need to be mindful of our water source. One thing that I've been very adamant about in my as a council member is not just that the growth of effect on water, but the water. Our impact on water right now. We have 25,000 people on this island, and we need to manage our water safely.
Thank you very much. Lara, to you.
Hey, would you mind repeating the question one more time at this point?
I would be delighted to.
Thank you.
If elected, how will you work within the state's specific priorities and the unique needs of Bainbridge Island with respect to growth and transportation?
All right, thank you for that. As stated earlier by a couple of the candidates, I think that it's true that Bainbridge Island, because especially we've been incorporated, we are identified as more of an urban setting, but we don't have the infrastructure like a typical urban incorporated city has. And so as we look at the our local urban growth centers, and we look at how in the world we can infill, increase density, create affordable housing and housing in all kinds of diverse affordable ranges, we need to figure out how to do it in a way where we have infrastructure, we have sewer, septic, water capacity, and it's very difficult to do that under the House Bill 1220, as Joe mentioned, as well as the Growth Management Act. I think we need to kind of slow down and pause before we just jump into any decisions that are not thoughtful and long-reaching.
Thank you. And Sarah, will you round us out with your response?
Sure. So I'm currently working on this issue on the Planning Commission, and it is very challenging and very complex. And as has been previously mentioned, it's kind of this blanket set of regulations and guidance that I think impact Bainbridge differently than it impacts other cities, because as Lara mentioned, we're not typical in that we don't have our entire island's not sewered. We don't have infrastructure within all of our city limits. And so I think that we do need to look to the state to allow us some flexibility in how we're going to achieve these mandates. Because I think that just checking the boxes for the state, the way the state wants to see us do it, isn't necessarily what's going to work here. And as been mentioned, we need to be mindful of our resources and our groundwater management, and the strategies and tools for our groundwater management might not actually be consistent with this idea of focusing growth in centers. And we need the ability to address those concerns in our planning.
Thank you so much. Our next question. Bainbridge Island has a shortage of affordable housing. This is something that all of you have addressed in one way or another so far. What will you do to address this need, and how will you support projects already in the pipeline? This question will start with Peter.
Sorry, got off mute. Affordable housing is critically needed on Bainbridge Island. It always has since I moved here in 1994. I'm a strong supporter of Housing Resources Board, HRB, have been for a long time, decades, in fact, help with their development plan, help with their first fundraiser. So affordable housing is needed on Bainbridge. And as Joe mentioned before, there are some alternatives, and there was some alternatives over the years that people have tried. One thing that I think people haven't tried is I met with a few developers who went through all the numbers and told me that it wasn't practical, didn't pencil out. But we have to think of philanthropy and people who actually own property, who are willing to do the market rate along with affordable housing to make it work. And they don't care about the dollars so much about the community. It's more important to them. And I don't think that has really been explored enough. And there's a couple of properties that would benefit affordable housing in that way.
Thank you. Joe, same question for you.
Okay, thank you. Well, it should be clear we badly need affordable housing on this island. Case in point, the city of Bainbridge Island, over 75% of the employees do not live on Bainbridge. So it is a critical need. How do we address that? Well, we're actually doing that already in many measures. The city has given millions of dollars to Housing Resources Bainbridge, doing such things as the Oliver Project and the, let's see, this is the Erickson Community House. Also, I approved the project at the church, sorry. But we need to do more. We need to do more. And so this is why the 625 Winslow Way project came aboard. We've been working on that for 3 years and going through the process. Now, of recent, we had no other options other than that, but 2 options did come up about a month ago, I think, colleagues, would you say? One was the 251 Winslow project, and then the other was the pavilion. I am actively looking at those. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Joe. Lara, will you give your response?
Riley, would you repeat the question again?
Happily. Okay, Bainbridge Island has a shortage of affordable housing. What will you do to address this need, and how will you support projects already in the pipeline?
Thanks, Riley. And just figure I'm always going to ask that question. That's
Fair
what
enough.
I do. Okay, yes, we do have a dearth of affordable housing and housing of all flavors and varieties. Building density in Winslow makes sense, but the sewer capacity has yet to be determined. The groundwater management plan has yet to be finalized. There's a lot of question marks about how far we can go. Where is our sustainability button? Which is why I absolutely support infill in existing neighborhoods through ADUs, townhouses, duplexes, triflexes, just to keep building on where we already are. And also working with the state Department of Health, Department of Ecology, and Kitsap County Public Health in loosening up some of the requirements for ADUs that require one hookup for an ADU or a 2-bedroom septic system. That makes it very difficult to expand affordability. Thank you.
Okay. Sarah, the same question for you.
Yeah. It's really hard to build affordable housing. And I would say, the primary factor is the cost. And we need to support projects that come forward, whether it's through Housing Resources Bainbridge or Bethany Lutheran, or perhaps other religious organizations that want to build on their property. The city needs to support those efforts because they're going to be few and far between. And as Lara mentioned, the state is wanting us to work with land use policy to solve the housing crisis, but some of the barriers come from the state level, and the city needs to engage with the state more about what some of those barriers are. Because I will say that the state's trying to solve the housing crisis with land use policy, and I don't believe that'll work. There's too many factors we don't have control over, such as construction costs. And I think we need to look at preserving affordable housing. I think that is cheaper than building new affordable housing. And again, working with the state on perhaps some tax exemptions for people willing to rent existing homes to affordable income qualified households.
Okay, thank you. Clarence, will you give us your response, please?
Sure, it's really fun to wrap this up because I agree with everybody's comments before me. One thing that I'm doing right now, I mentioned earlier, I am a commissioner on the Kitsap Housing Authority. And for a lot of people who don't know, this organization, it's a local government organization, already provides affordable housing on this island. The Rhododendron Apartments that many of you know, that's about 100 units there, and also Finch Place Apartments near Marge Williams Center. And by the way, both of these places have well over 400 people on their waiting list. About 2/3 of them people who work here but can't afford to live here. So there's a pent-up demand for affordable housing in a reasonable way, in a real way, measurable way. Also, there's other projects like Southern Cross, which are putting in housing in neighborhoods that normally would not have affordable housing, but you can't distinguish the difference. And 4 working families would be in those 2-bedroom apartments. And as Joe mentioned, we started on the Bethany Lutheran project, which will be really important affordable housing units for working people.
Thank you very much. Our next question, what do you think Bainbridge Island's current budget strengths are and vulnerabilities? What ideas or concerns would you bring to the next budget cycle, given the uncertainties of our local, state, and federal economies? Joe, this will start with you.
Oh, okay, great. Well, the city's finances actually are in excellent shape. We have a AAA bond rating from Moody's. That is the highest rating a municipality can have. And why does that? How does that stand out? We are only one of 14 cities in the entire state of Washington that have that high rating. What that is an indication of our strong fiscal discipline, our reserves, which allow us, should in a catastrophic event, we have no revenue for 3 months. We have reserves that will keep the city in operation for 3 months. Plus, we have a $1 million reserve on top of that. So the city's in very good shape. But mind you, we have to be very careful. We are in very uncertain times these days. Our sales tax revenue is flattening out as well as our real estate excise tax. So we have to be very mindful of our funding, but I'm confident with fiscal discipline, which this council has done, we can prevail.
Thank you, Joe. Lara, you're the next to respond.
Thanks, Riley. The budget strengths and some weaknesses. There's good money that is being spent in tandem with grant-funded money, and that's great, except for the weakness of the perilous nature of some of the grant funding. So I would really consider the federal and state what's happening on the federal level, especially, that we really need to buckle down, look at the work that has to be done before we initiate any new projects. And I think our budget is reflective of that for the most part. I would look at things like staffing and permit fees, for example, and possibly rearrange those things to more adequately reflect the work that's being done, not the work that might be just small initiatives that are being worked through.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, your response, please.
Yeah, I guess despite the city's good credit ratings, I actually am concerned about the city's financial situation. At the beginning of the year, when the Planning Commission was starting its deliberations on the comprehensive plan, we were told no extra meetings, which we'd been promised all of 2024, and no, we should not go beyond our 2-hour meeting time, and it was for budget reasons. I think the fact that the city manager has told the city council that they're going to need to look for new revenue streams, potentially raise property taxes for basic street maintenance, which the city should be providing, I think is a red flag. I think the budget was barely balanced. Part of that due to the fact that $100,000 expense that's typically been paid by the general fund was moved to the city's water fund. So we can thank the water ratepayers of Winslow for helping balance the budget by $100,000.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Clarence, your response?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Councilmember Deets, for pointing out some of the things I was going to mention. When I first got elected 4 years ago, it was a scary thing because we were going to have a delta imbalance in that our expenditures were going to exceed our revenues in 1 year. We were going to have an unbalanced budget in a year. And so we worked with our city manager and our great finance department, and we made some very hard choices. For example, I would rather have gotten more police officers. We are below capita of any other city of our size for our police force, and they're working awfully hard. We deferred those hirings. Our safety is still good, but it was a tough choice, and those are the tough choices we made. We are now balanced out to 2030, and part of doing that gives that great bond rating that Joe had mentioned. We've also won awards for our transparent reporting and our transparent budgeting. Is it going to be easy? There's no silver bullets. That's why I want to stay on. I'm a person for fiscal responsibility, always have been. I'm not going to raise taxes if we cannot find any other way to find efficiencies within our city.
Thank you very much. And then Peter, you'll be our last response for that question.
Well, there you go. Thank you very much. I agree with so many of my friends and fellow candidates on this race. Glad we have a high bond rating. Happy to hear that. I'm also concerned and look forward to really diving into the budget. I am concerned about staffing as well and consultants that seem to be used a lot. Why we need so many consultants, I don't know. Why they're hidden in the consent agenda, I don't know. Why things like spending $1.08 million for the Notch property was in the consent agenda, not opened up to the public. And you know, that's not transparent financial budget in my mind. So I'd like to see more transparency than less transparency, more accountability. And that's what I think about our wonderful budget.
Thank you very much. Lara, we'll start with you for this next question. How will you, as a council member, work with the city manager to move the council's priorities forward?
Ooh, that's a great question. Well, first, I would get together with my co-council members and truly discuss the priorities that would be coming for 2026 and beyond. I do believe that we are going to be moving the priorities as noted by the current council. There will be some shifting. There has to be some shifting in there. And so working with the city manager, being very clear about how the new priorities should be affected, how communication should be enacted, how staffing should be directed is very important. And keeping the guardrails on, making sure constant communication between the city manager and his staff, the city manager and the city council is always on that same even keel. So constant touch-ins, checkbacks, check-ins, I think is where I would go.
Thank you. Sarah, your response?
Yeah, so one of the issues I have with the current council and city manager is it appears that a lot of decision making is happening kind of behind the scenes and not in the public meeting. To be clear, I'm not suggesting the OPMA is being violated, but it does seem as though decisions have been made prior to the council meetings, and the public is kind of robbed of that deliberative process and the thought process that goes into a decision. And I think that if the council engaged in a more transparent and substantive deliberative process, then the public would be better informed about upcoming initiatives. I think Bainbridge disposal, the issue surrounding that is probably the biggest example of something I think probably there was work done prior to it becoming public for the sake of efficiency, but then when it became public and there was a lot of pushback, the council had to backtrack on that, and it had been a waste of resources.
Okay, thank you. And Clarence, the same question to you.
Thanks very much. If I can just segue on that last point because it addressed us as council incumbents. The Bainbridge disposal issue was because we do not have a regulated utility of disposal, and we never did that when we incorporated the city. So a full year of negotiations with this firm to be licensed was ongoing. And since that was something that's going on within the city, people understand that these are executive decision things, that we're doing a contract with a private company. So that's why it was not talked about in the open. And then it was brought out, there was some concern. So that's why it took that while. And we're responsible, Councilmember Deets and I, to follow the rule of the law and the letter of it. And when the city is doing those kind of negotiations with any private company, those are executive session issues, because we need to be responsible to the letter of the law and also our finances for our city.
Thank you. Peter, your response?
Could you repeat the question, please, Carl?
Absolutely. Let me just get in the proper window. Okay. How will you as a council member work with the city manager to move the council's priorities forward?
Great. I met early on when I first decided to run. I set up a meeting with Blair just to talk to him about how he works with the city council. I also met with several city council members and asked them the same questions as how everything is operational. And Blair had told me that he meets with each city council person one-on-one during the week. And I don't know when everybody meets together rather than one-on-one, but certainly I would work with whoever the city manager is to move our priorities forward, and work with my fellow candidates on the city council to set the priorities and make sure that they are accomplished. One thing I like to do is plan. I'm a planner, being a fundraiser, and if you fail to plan, the plan will fail. And so I think planning is important, and I just see a lack of finishing plans that have been with the city, and I'd like those to be finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Joe, your response?
Okay, great, thank you. Well, we do have a city manager, council manager form of government. Council sets policy and a budget and priorities. So when it says how to move priorities forward, the priorities are of the council, not of the city manager. We get together, we usually have like a retreat, and we collectively agree to these are our priorities. And like number one is climate action plan implementation right now. Second is affordable housing, and then it just goes down the list. So to be clear, it's the city council members who set the priorities. And then it is we hire our biggest hire, our only hire that council does is the city manager. And so we set policy, we approve the budget, and then it's the city manager who carries those out under with his through his staff. So we don't interact with staff, he does. So just to be clear, the call is ours. And so it was not Blair who decided on climate action implementation. It was not Blair who decided on affordable housing. Now, as far as was it Bainbridge disposal? I love Bainbridge disposal. I want to keep them on, of course. I've met with him. Oh, sorry. Stop.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you got attacked by a cat or something.
I could have kept going.
Thank you so much for respecting the time limits. All right, our next question. So this will be for Sarah to start. Sarah, there have been many changes to speed limits and traffic revisions across the island. What are the positive and negative effects of these revisions, and how do you propose to measure those?
I think some of the negative effects of are that people find workarounds, I guess you'd say, and in the roundabouts, for example, which are not the city's project, has created situations where people are now using, I guess, extended the westbound highway, which was just Miller and Fletcher before, because now it's easier to access the highway up north, which is, caused some increased speeding in neighborhoods. And so the city, we are short on police officers. We're very short on police officers, and you need police officers to patrol traffic, and we don't have that. And so the city needs to work with neighborhoods to get some consensus and agreement on what kind of traffic calming measures might be appropriate for different areas. It's not It's not all going to be the same for every neighborhood. And of course, work with the fire department to make sure that those traffic calming measures are also work with their vehicles.
Thank you very much. Clarence, your response?
Oh, me? Sorry.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, on the speed limits, one thing that I inherited when I started this office were so many things that were problems. And one of the problems we found were there were these hodgepodge of speed limits where 2 blocks would be 20 miles an hour, the next 3 blocks would be 25, and then back to 30 or something. And so we did a comprehensive study on consolidating those limits. There was also a very intensive study on what are the safe speed limits for these areas. And a lot of it is for the people who live there. I know it's hard, and sometimes it's hard. I get frustrated myself moving around. But remember, we're also living with other citizens who live on those roads, and for them, many days it's it's a death trap just to go to their mailbox. And so we have to be resident of all the people's concerns. And something that Sarah mentioned, one of the things that really work are these lighted. You see the number comes up when you're speeding or going by. It's really working over in Rolling Bay. People really slow down when they see that flashing light. We could probably use a lot more of those around the island.
Thank you very much. Peter, your response?
Sure. Well, I'm concerned also about bicyclists. I had two friends actually last month that got hit on bicycles. So I actually appreciate the lower speeding limits. I wish that we had better roads for bicyclists and maybe pedestrians. We don't have a lot of people walking around on the streets, and probably for good reason, as Clarence mentioned. They don't want to get hit on the way to the mailbox. So the slower speeds, as inconvenient as they might be, it's a safety issue, I really believe. We need to slow things down. When I first moved here, it was everybody slowed down and waved at each other at the four-way stops. Now we have circles and can't wave anymore. But I really am supportive of the speed limits for safety. And I'd like to see our roads improved without a bond measure. So thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thanks, Peter. Joe, the same question to you. Oh, Joe, you're muted.
Sorry. Riley, you cut out when you were giving the question. There was something roundabout speeding. Can you repeat the
Sure.
question, please?
No problem. So there have been many changes to speed limits and traffic revisions across the island.
Oh,
What
gosh.
are the positive and negative effects of those revisions, and how do you propose to measure them?
Okay, well, I'm sorry, you cut out again, but I'm just going to wing it. So there was something about speeding, roundabouts. I think I get it. Well, yes, I would say as a council member, the traffic is probably the single biggest thing that we hear about. Clarence, you may agree with that. So it is very top of mind. We do have a traffic operations committee, an internal committee that now, as a council member, I meet with people. I have regular office hours. People come, often say, hey, I have a safety issue on a road. I get the information. I pass it to the city manager, who then it goes to the traffic operations committee. So we do have a process for this. But yes, roads are dangerous here. We're currently looking at Miller Road as a very unsafe road. Frankly, I am supportive of putting in speed cameras there, but we're in the process of evaluating that process. We do not have speed cameras on the island, but let's look into that. Second, as far as roundabouts, I'm part of our 305 working group. Been working on 305 for my entire council, and I will stop there.
Okay, thank you very much. And then Lara, your response, please.
Thanks, Riley. Speed limits. Okay, so initially I hated them all when we slowed way down. It seemed so reactive. However, I've turning my thinking around on that. Slower roads are safer roads. And with so many people riding bicycles, jogging, walking their dogs, we really do have to be mindful of our speed and our, are we on our phones, whatever we're doing. I do think the city can do a better job. They're trying hard and I appreciate it, but I think they need to be more reactive, more responsible to people's concerns about what Sarah was saying. And actually, Clarence and Joe said these same things, which is as traffic is moving to different areas and it's certain roads are speeding up, certain households are being impacted, we need to be able to respond to those people who really need help. And by that, I mean, take the Traffic Operations Committee and make it more action-oriented, not just studying, and make things happen.
Thank you very much. Okay. So we're starting here with Clarence. Given the uncertainty about the island's supply of water, another issue that I've heard many of you address tonight, what ideas do you have to encourage water conservation among island residents and businesses to improve reuse of wastewater?
Thank you. First, one thing I've often heard is we're the only island with a sole source aquifer, and that's simply not true. There are 5 other islands that are that, including 3 that have 100% of their sources of water being sole source. So we're not unique in that area. But you just hit on the right part. Conservation is really the issue. And for example, they're on Rolling Bay, Rockaway Beach. Of all those homes, there's one house that consumes 40% of the water. It's just doing it through irrigation. And so conservation has to be done. I love our beautiful gardens. I like to go to the art gardens fair, but that takes a lot of irrigation too. So those are choices that our community has made that we really have to look at and regulate. We also have lovely industries that I really enjoy, including all those at Coppertop, the distillery, the winery, and the brewery. But those are water-based businesses. That's where their product starts from. So conservation is really key to make sure that our aquifer is going to last for generations to come.
Thank you, Clarence. Peter, the same question to you.
I would agree with Clarence as far as the conservation of the water and taking a look at it. Also, Vashon Island, similar situation. They have water credits that they do. I would look towards other islands, as Clarence mentioned. We're not the only ones. So what are the solutions that the other islands are doing? Have we really looked and explored and planned what other islands do? I know that Vashon Island, because I looked into that because of Vashon's affordable housing, they also have an issue with affordable housing. One of the things that it took 8 years and $22 million for their affordable housing project. But they have water credits, and the community got together and gave the water credits to the affordable housing project so that it could go forward. So they conserve the water with these water credits. And so I would look into other communities similar to Bainbridge, other islands, and see how we can conserve water the best way, just like they do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joe, the same question to you.
Riley, can you do me a favor and repeat the question?
I'd be delighted to. Given the uncertainty about the island's supply of water, what ideas do you have to encourage water conservation among island residents and businesses and to improve reuse of wastewater?
Great. I love this question. Yeah, water is our most precious resource. It's critical and finite. On Bainbridge Island, we've measured it and monitored it. We've recognized the importance of storing it, and we've looked at the potential of reusing it. What has not happened nearly enough, in my view, is the implementation of water conservation measures. Any council member can put forward proposals. So at my request, water conservation was discussed at an April 15th, 2025 council study session, where I made the proposal, we need to start looking at water conservation. There was general acknowledgement of that. I was looking at my notes. Interest in implementation measures need to be key. And then we should discuss creating a water conservation plan once the groundwater management plan has been completed. I totally agree. I would have liked to have seen a little more urgency with my colleagues, but I will take that. So let me just say, when we're done with the groundwater management plan, which I hope will be very soon, I will be vigorously pursuing creation of a water conservation plan.
Thank you very much, Joe. Lara, your response?
Well, I'll jump in with a kind of a chuckle. No man is an island. And so as we, thanks, Clarence, as we, discuss this topic, we're not alone in this. We do share our aquifers with, the rest of the peninsula and beyond. And so keeping in mind how they're using their water directly impacts how we should be using our water. So connecting more on a greater level, a more regional level, talking again to Department of Ecology, Department of Health, Kitsap Public Health, and how they can develop policies across the region that all of us can implement. We shouldn't have to create this every time as if it's a brand new topic for just our city, because we're all being impacted. I do think water conservation is huge and that we should really explore gray water and how to reuse gray water. I mean, we're already doing aquifer recharge, stormwater recharge, but gray water is another place to explore, as well as incentivized usage. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sarah, your response.
In addition to reusing wastewater and conserving, we also need to look at how we can protect and enhance our aquifer recharge. For reuse, I would say we should look to what they've done at Port Gamble and look where we have opportunities like that on the island, where they have a small treatment plant that currently uses a drain field, but their plan is to use the water in town for irrigation and eventually run purple pipe to the homes that will be built. So that would be something for the city to look into. As far as conservation, the city has to really buy into its own policies. It's hard to have people conserve water when they're on wells. And when the city misses opportunities like they did with the water main extension to the Japanese Memorial, rather than extending the KPUD main down Taylor Avenue, where they could have gone by 21 homes that are on wells currently, that could have eventually connected to a public water source and been metered and charged. That's, in my opinion, a failure to enact policy.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have just enough time for one more question before we do our closing statements. So I will start with Peter here. And my question is, what is your position on free speech, civility in public discourse, and the use of federal force within local jurisdictions?
What a timely topic, whoever brought that one up. I am all about free speech. Free speech is important. I believe we had one citizen attend a city council meeting who asked the council to come up with some regulations and some laws that would prevent ICE from coming onto the island and gather up our citizens and take them away, like they are currently in Chicago and in Portland and other cities. Seattle is next on the list. So we should be mindful of what is happening on the federal government level, getting closer to Seattle, getting closer to Bainbridge, and coming up with ways to prevent that from happening here. But I'm all about free speech. I think it's important. It's a constitutional right. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. The same question for you, Joe.
Okay, great. Obviously, free speech is paramount to our society, certainly here on Bainbridge. Among the many assaults we've seen by the current federal administration is that on equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have seen this happen just recently. 2 federal grants that we won were had new conditions which would require us, if we accepted the grants, to comply with ICE on Bainbridge Island. Now, council has not discussed this as a group, but just to say for the record, I'm not bending the knee to that action by the federal government. No way, no how. As much as I want those grants to happen, I am not going to go with those demands. Second, the federal government has also denied money to food banks, particularly Helpline House, $200,000 a year, and they've been denied to Helpline House. I am going to make emergency provision for that. So, what was it? Free speech and use of federal force. Yes, we do. Okay. Sorry.
That's your time. I know it's a huge question. Lara, how about your response?
It is a huge question. So free speech, public discourse, and federal force, the use of federal forces. Yes to free speech. I think it's paramount that we should be able to talk to each other civilly and speak to alternate ideas. I mean, this campaign alone, I have spoken to more people who have ideas which are completely different than my ideas, but we are civil and we listen to each other, and that is so important. The use of federal forces is disturbing on so many levels, and I think that we really need, as a city, and again, as a county and as a state, to come together, to pull together, to have a unified response if and when it hits us like it's hitting Oregon and Illinois and California. I do think that constant communication, though, between citizens keeps us as a community and a neighborhood. And so having things like community meetings, ward meetings, for example, keeps us all in the loop, and that's important.
Thank you very much. Sarah, your response?
Lara, I think that was a great response on federal force, and I would agree with everything you just said. And a lot about the free speech as well. The civility and discourse is really important. We see a lot on Bainbridge Island. There's a lot of friction between, I would say, commonly affordable housing and environmentalists. They're kind of pitted against each other. as though you couldn't accomplish both. And I think people make a lot of assumptions, if you're in favor of affordable housing, you don't care about the environment and vice versa. And I think the city and I think the council can kind of set an example for civility in discourse. And I think that having increased communication, as Lara mentioned, through ward meetings, we used to have quarterly ward meetings, because I think a lot of it is born out of frustration of only having 3 minutes to speak a couple times a month and not getting any response or feedback, which the council can't do. They're in a tough position. But ward meetings kind of serve that purpose of having some engagement back and forth, and I think helps alleviate some of that frustration the public feels.
Thank you very much. And Clarence, your response, please.
As a former board member of the ACO of Washington, I supported not just the First Amendment, but all of the Bill of Rights. And many of you may be at that rally on April 5th, and I had the opportunity to reaffirm, and Joe Deets and my colleagues also reaffirmed a wonderful resolution the 2017 Council wrote about being a welcoming community. It's really a fantastic statement about the values of our community. There was also an ordinance passed directing our police department to not be involved or help law enforcement. That's already on the books of our city. So it already shows the kind of values we have. And we've already lived this life. All of you know I've been involved with a project here on Bainbridge Island for the memorial. Back then, the Kitsap County Sheriffs and the Washington State Patrol helped the FBI raid all 50 homes simultaneously. Local law enforcement has already done that on Bainbridge Island. And as long as this council is together, I believe all of us on this dais or on this conversation, however this election turns out, we would all stand firm on that.
Thank you very much, Clarence. So that will end our question portion, but I would like to give each of the candidates 60 seconds to give a closing statement. And so, Joe, you have 60 seconds to say whatever you think the public should know.
You bet. Great. Well, thank you, League of Women's Voters, for hosting a great candidate forum. I appreciate hearing all the views tonight, and I hope the voters are listening. If there's ever been a time where we need to look out for one another, this is it. If there's ever been a time to keep your head down and not worry about your neighbor, this definitely is not it. The heart of the matter is, not everyone feels safe these days, not in housing, not in getting food on the table, not with your changing climate, not in avoiding arbitrary arrest. My wife, Tammy, who's an immigrant, has started keeping a copy of her U.S. passport with her wherever she goes. Like it or not, this is the world we live in now. So what should a city council member be doing? I can readily answer that. Down on I have requested $30,000 in emergency food aid to Helpline House. I've devoted a big part of my life addressing climate change. You can count on me having the political will to implement the climate action plan. I refuse to bend the knee to the Trump administration's demand the city cooperate with ICE to receive 2 federal grants. Thank you, and go Mariners.
Thank you, Joe. Lara, your response?
All right. Thanks again, Riley. And thanks again, League of Women Voters and anyone who's watching this. Again, I'm Lara Lant. I'm running for Bainbridge Island City Council because I believe good government starts with transparency and clear communication. When residents understand what's happening and why, trust grows and our decisions get better. I want the city to focus on projects that fit our neighborhoods and truly make a difference. Smaller, well-designed housing, infrastructure, and transportation improvements that improve daily life without overwhelming our character or our resources. We need to strengthen coordination with regional partners by sharing data and planning on housing, transportation, and utilities, because challenges like these just don't stop at our city limits. We must manage our water supply responsibly by planning carefully for both environmental sustainability and financial stability for future generations. And I'm committed to steady, practical leadership and solutions that make sense for Bainbridge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sarah, your closing statement.
As a lifelong island resident who has closely followed city politics and served on both the City Council and Planning Commission, I bring unmatched experience and a deep understanding of Bainbridge Island to this position. I understand our history, values, and priorities. I offer both historical perspective and current knowledge and will step into this role without a learning curve. About 15 years ago, our city decided to change to the city manager form of government. In order for that form of government to work, we need strong, community-based leadership on the City Council. I would like to help shift the City Council back in the direction of core community priorities. I have direct experience and I have proven my commitment to the principles and issues that matter most to our community, and I'm willing to ask the hard and even uncomfortable questions that need to be asked. Whether it's developing and implementing real solutions to our affordable housing crisis or protecting our limited natural resources, I will always insist on genuine and robust public process.
Thank you very much. Clarence, your closing statement.
Thank you, Riley and the League, and all of you watching, and my 4 colleagues here on Hollywood Squares. Thanks for participating. Nearly 30 years ago, I made the best decision of my life, moving here to Bainbridge Island. Like all of you, we were drawn to the natural beauty, the excellent schools, and such a welcoming community. Since then, over these last several decades, it's been my greatest privilege to give back to this island and serve this wonderful community that we all love. I'm dedicated to public safety, equity, fiscal responsibility, protecting our environment, and supporting the organizations and programs that help keep Bainbridge Island safe, welcoming, and vibrant. Together, we can build a more inclusive, sustainable future, one that honors our history and uplifts all generations. Thank you for the trust you have given me and the opportunity to serve. It would be an honor to earn your vote and re-election.
Thank you so much. And Peter, will you give us your closing statement?
Sure. I like to be Paul Lynn and be at the center square. So I appreciate that, Clarence, the reference to Hollywood Squares. I love it. And I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to talk to our illustrious audience. And I'm also dedicated to supporting our nonprofit community, our environment, our climate, as I mentioned earlier, being transparent and accountable and reliable. And one thing I really enjoyed during this whole process, since I'm new at this, is actually going out and meeting people and having coffees and private homes and having parties and listening to people, listen to our constituents, what they're concerned about. I love listening to people. I love to engage, whether we agree, like Lara had said earlier, whether we agree or disagree. It's great to hear from people, and I love to hear from you. And my email is Raffa for Bainbridge@gmail.com. If anybody wants to contact me, I'd love to have coffee. Oh, shoot, I stopped.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you to all of our candidates tonight. You have the League of Women Voters of Kitsap County's thanks for participating in this forum and for offering your expertise to the Bainbridge Island City Council. And thank you also to the audience and community members for participating in our representative democracy by listening and learning, and for providing us questions to ask today. All of our League forums are recorded, and links to these videos will soon be up on our website at www.lwv-kitsap.org, and they will be available on YouTube as well. Voters, hopefully this forum has helped you choose a candidate. Our voters should receive, in Kitsap County, voters should receive their ballots for the November 4th general election on or near next Friday, that's October 17th, just a little under 2 weeks away. For Bainbridge Island, the closest in-person voting location is the Polesbo Fire Station on Liberty Road. I just found out their address is 911, perfect, which will be open for on-site registration and for voting on Election Day, which is Tuesday, November 4th, as well as on the preceding Saturday and Monday. That's the 1st and the 3rd of November. So please encourage other people to learn about their candidates by viewing this forum and other LWV forums. And most importantly, please don't forget to vote. Thank you for everyone who came to watch.
Thank you, Riley.
Thank you.
Good seeing everybody.